Hiya, and welcome back to Heroes Advent, the game that teaches us that maybe having an entire building fall on top of you isn't a good idea. Maybe it isn't a good idea. Just a little thought. Anyways, let's just hop right in. Okay, so the poll said max. Incompatible save detected. Version 1.14. Progress has been salvaged, but errors may still occur. Rollback is disabled for compatibility. Proceed at your discretion. I've had these saves since the beginning. We are not giving up on them now. You screamed at... Fucking Elise! Fucking Elisa! God damn. Also, they changed the button to check our stats. You screamed out of instinct as you felt the weight of the world crumbling down on you. Elisa is not amused. There's an inventory button? Shit, how do I check it? It's the I button. Stats is S. Inventory is I. Weapon, equipment, and miscellaneous confiscated from inventory. All we have is our uniform. It all began with nothing. The void. It knew all, for it was not, for all was not. Until it knew of Logos. Through the center of the nothing was pierced the light of Yore, and from it bequeathed the blessing of Logos. The primordial light was split into four, governed by the fifth, the giver of Bios. Okay, is this a fucking computer? Is this a fucking computer game? All that is known, all that is seen, the universe came to be. Commanded by the three, the four governed the universe. The envoys, Ether, the master of Logos. Telos, the speaker of Logos. Nether, the arbiter of Logos. All are Logos, and Logos is all. And all is harmony. Your eyes snapped open, finding yourself outside the Guardian Crystal's temple, in the Outer Guardians where Elisa had invited you for tea. You pat yourself down, inspecting yourself for injuries, likely having fallen out of one of the windows when the temple collapsed. What happened? Did the crystal fall? You turned around to where you expected the temple to be, only to meet once more with the void. Vast and empty. I'm dreaming again. Does that mean I'm not dead? The vaguest of memories blended together in your addled mind. Colorful scenes under murky waters that flitted away as you reached for them. Elisa? What happened to Elisa? All at once the pictures became clearer. The fight with Ashford, your pursuit into the temple, the illusion that had disguised her as your enemy. The Crystal Guardians collapse. The Guardian Crystals collapse. Elisa saving you. Your legs gave out under you, the plush grass below softening your landing. Oh, hiya, welcome. Don't worry about being late. It took a while for you to compose yourself. Your nerves quelled as an ominous cold wind blew against the garden. The feeling was familiar, the presence of the entity you had encountered at the Akai tree. Something foreign making its way to you. Maker? Are you out there? Oh shit, I forgot. I forgot something. I'm so sorry, I forgot something. There. You called out, tremulous and unsure. The impermanence of this place meant it wasn't guaranteed to be the same presence. The first thing to catch your attention was a flower bed to the left of you. the flowers' hues shifting from the vibrant reds, pinks, and yellows into a pale, transparent blue. I know, I'm a horrible person. I know, I'm a horrible fucking person. I forgot Dave. I'm a terrible person. I'm so sorry. You fixed your gaze on them, attempting to confirm to yourself whether what you were seeing was a trick of the mind or an actual distortion of the space. You reached for the flowers, only to feel the cold, wet sensation of water over your fingers as they passed through its now amorphous form. I know, I'm going to jail for 1,000 years. Where are the police? I'm going to jail for 1,000 years. Minimum. Minimum 1,000 years jail. They collapsed into a puddle, provoking a ripple effect as the waterbed was washed away by waves, leaving in its wake a sandy beach that spanned far into the void. Your ears swiveled at the sound of heavy rustling behind you. You wheel around expecting something to come charging at you, only to find the trees in the garden quivering, their branches jostled by some unfelt wind, roasting their foliage into a crimson rust, whisked away and piling on the now yellowed grass. You notice that these alterations aren't as violent as what you had experienced previous, only to be sobered by a harsh wind blowing in your face, almost as blistering as the time you first experienced a walk-in freezer. You shielded your eyes as the gale subsided, revealing the area just across from you now coated in a vibrant snow that stood out uncannily in the void. Every last bit of vegetation turned to glassy ice. Sparing what little remained of the flowers and grass upon where you stood, each of the 4 seasons were now represented within the temple's garden. Not yet finished, something erupted from the ground, throwing you back into a leafy pile. From the other seasons, you spotted similar structures bursting forth from the ground. A pile of flotsam wood, lazily cobbled together into a lounging chair from the sand. From the blanket of leaves popped up a trunk, with mushrooms serving as the cushions, like something you'd see in a children's fairy tale. And from the pile of snow revealed a hardwood chair with a wine-red backrest that wouldn't look out of place from an old-timey tavern. Then beneath you, in the shape of a grandmotherly sofa, was a topiary, adorned in aromatic white flowers. I'm going to jail forever. Now that you realized it, the other chairs were also decorated in flowers befitting their stations. Even against all odds, the harsh and unrelenting snow let them effloresce vibrantly. I promise I will never forget about Dave again. A familiar vibration emanating through it, connecting them all together. Your vision dimmed for a moment, the chairs seemingly returning to the void, only for the darkness to coalesce into vaguely humanoid figures, taking their rightful places upon each perch. The first voice you heard come from the beach, a restrained, defensive hissing. Who's there? Identify yourself at once. It appears an intruder has wandered into this place. No matter. Get thee hence! The second voice boomed from the snowfield, its tone threatening as it stood at the ready. Wait, I come in peace. Elise and I were... You know, Lady Spring, who are you and why is she not with you? Now, settle down. A third voice chided the fiery youth, her tone laced with an ominous lilt with each phrase. It appears that our floral compatriot cannot be here right now. The autumn shadow extended a slender arm towards you, drawing the other two's attention. However, this green-horned guest is her stand-in. Can you feel her mage signature from this one? Hardly. 'Tis as faint as a dying hearth. How can we be certain that he hasn't taken Spring's power? A fair presumption, why don't we ask? Yeah, I don't think this is a dream. Tell me, child, who are you and what is your connection to Lady Spring? You could feel their gaze fixating upon you, awaiting expectantly for your answer. I am Dave. Lady Spring is my caretaker. Caretaker? Yes, I believe she had informed us of the so-called protege she had taken under her wing. But such a wobbling whelp has no way of finding his way here alone. So how did you manage to arrive here without the presence of Lady Spring? You recounted your experiences from the start. Omitting your origins, you explained the extent of your relationship with Elisa, your time in Arborea, the current affairs in Crystal Coast, and the apparent demise of Elisa and the Guardian Crystal. That's quite a bit to take in. This explains the abnormal disturbance in the mage field I foresaw. But to have been a result of the Great Crystal shattering, I was against this namby-pamby plot from the start, I tell you. Now, what was she thinking, sitting here with their haunches pressed against the sea and mountains, waiting for the king's forces to crush them? Were they under my guidance, we would have stricken the king upon his throne. Yes, quite well said, Commander Frost. Though, shall I ask why that has not come to pass as of yet? The retort sent the boorish major back into his seat, presumably fuming at the lithe woman tittering at her comrade. Elisa has her own ways of facing adversities, Frost, and we have ours to protect our own. What happened to Crystal Coast is nothing short of a travesty, yet this outcome was preordained by the Maker. Preordained? Indeed. With or without Dave's interference, the crystal would stand no more. If that is true, Lady Autumn, then dare I say better without. Wait, I was deceived. Ashford, he's been laying in wait this whole time. He's one behind all of this. The crystal's destabilization, the invasion, that last-ditch illusion. Ashford? How many more of the king's generals have made it this far into untainted land? Hold, Soleil. I believe this Ashford he speaks of is in fact Sinus. Sinus, the one we've lost surveillance of recently? One and the very same. Sinus. Wait, I think I've heard this name somewhere before. I just can't remember where. But even then, I didn't know it was the same person. Because he told me his name was Ashford Helm Garden or something. Must be a pseudonym by sounds of it. Indeed, our understanding is that Sinus hailed from what is, or once was, Helmgarten. Quite ambitious for a thrall, that one. Not a formidable foe on his own, yet a master of subterfuge. Quite the elusive opponent for a young protege to handle. Though her tone was sympathetic, yet still the same, you still felt shame being taken by one of the king's servants. Could have sworn it was him I'd cornered, not... For the warmonger and the illusionist, their success lays within the same basic foundation. Misdirection. Don't always take things for what they appear. I don't know what I could have done there. Hang on, let me check something. Okay. Yeah. I feel like something's gone wrong. I don't know what I could have done there. You don't mind me butting in, Snowy. You're the hero, are you not, Dave? I have been trying to discern your mage, but I can't tell what it is. It's this null affinity that Elisa told us about, isn't it? Couldn't you have used it to dispel the illusions through equalization? I didn't even know I could do that. Steady thy heart, Menino. It appears you have not fully explored this gift upon you. It is imperative that you learn to control both it and your emotions before long. A subtle sound disrupted the silence of the void. Until then, you had only heard your uneven breathing. It came from the autumn area, sounding like the shadow was flipping through pages. If your powers remain unclaimed, it shall be the last mistake you ever make. Her words struck into you like a doctor's needle. I'll try. Lady Spring. She'll be alright, won't she? I'm uncertain what I'll do without her guidance if she... We've had our disagreements, but she brings much kindness to our decisions. Her absence would be... felt. We shall know in time, Soleil. Time which appears we have run out of. Oh, what do you mean? Your ties to this realm are weakening. Soon you will return to the physical realm. Wait, I still have things I need to ask! We'll meet again, Dave, when the time is right. Can I at least have your names, please? You may address me as... Grigori. Though if that is too difficult to say, you may call me Greg. Papa Greg is what the younglings of Svabodia call me. Papa Greg. Papa Greg. Papa Greg. Papa Greg. That is the most normal name. That is the most normal name in this entire game. It is amazing. Because you have... I thought Dave... I genuinely thought Dave was strange.
Sorry, what the fuck?
I genuinely thought Dave was a strange name in this world. But Greg is what the younglings in Svabodia call me. You saw his head turn in profile towards the summer shadow, who seemed entirely unfazed by the subtle growl in his tone. My name is Kehi. I am the sage of the Atlantean seas, as well as the new arbiter of the Morgana Desert. The young male spoke with a practiced yet mechanical introduction, before relaxing somewhat as he attempted again. Oh, I know the reference. Greg. Fucking Steven Universe the movie. But you may call me Key for short, since, you know, Elisa and all. Selena, it shall be your pleasure to meet me someday. Her reply was curt, devoid of the playful lilt it carried from before. That should suffice for now. It is time for us to depart. Farewell, Dave. When you see Lady Spring next time, give her my regards. We shall continue to watch over your evolution, Dave. Hope that you will prove worthy of the title endowed upon you. You moved to respond as you felt your actions becoming sluggish. The landscape before you dissolved back into the verdant gardens once more. Each season faded into the green grass. How do you do, my Greg universe? Thank you for bringing me into the world. I am at your eternal service. Welcome to your new pearl. Soon, too, the garden began to dissolve into dust. A vicious wind swept you and its remains into the dark abyss. A series of voices heard just beyond the veil, drowned out by the rustling of your ears. That hurt, actually. When you came to, the first thing you saw was a cobblestone floor in front of you, a far departure from the grassy gardens. The voices you'd heard also starting to come into focus. What this happen if only I followed him the rest of the way? I don't know. Raising your head, you could see Max sitting on the opposite wall through the iron bars between you, the Malamute muttering to himself furtively. You'd almost expect him to shed himself from the distress. Lady Elisa, what would you have me do? No, what would you have done in such a time? Max? Dave! Are you doing alright? You aren't hurt, are you? I think I'm alright. Just a little sore. Dave, you have to tell me, what happened back there at the park? After you went into the park, a thick fog prevented us from getting any closer until the crystal collapsed. The fog? That was Ashford's doing. Ashford? What was he doing out there? You told Max everything you could remember, trying to relay the snow leopard's exact words in the events that led to his last gambit. So the mole was Ashford all along. I knew something was off when Cody said he'd gotten missing all morning. I just thought he was stranded at the market district. How could we have known? He seemed so eager to help our cause, only to be a facade this whole time. Damn cat! Max slammed his fist into the iron bars, bending them slightly, leaving them ringing long after he relented. Okay, so apparently each route is different, so I'm just going to update this. And I guess we'll be doing this for the next couple days. If I see him again, and it can't be soon enough, mark my words, he will not know mercy. Damn. You gave the Malamute a moment to compose himself, taking the liberty to examine your surroundings thoroughly. Your suspicions confirmed that you were indeed in a jail cell. Where are we, Max? This is the guild's prison. You've been put in this holding cell until we figure out what happened. I've made sure the guards didn't treat you too rough while you're here. Rough? Why would they treat me roughly? Because of how things have developed since you went to Vittram Park. When the Guardian Crystal shattered, it wound up destroying nearly half the city. The commercial and residential districts were damaged the most. Hang on, let me check something. Yeah, everything's correct. What about the townspeople? Did they make it out okay? For the most part, we've managed to evacuate most of the citizenry. There are still a lot of casualties to tend to. However, when the crystal fell, the Nether Beast seemed to just lay down and surrender. Alex says that the sudden release of the crystal's mage severed the connection they had with the king, leaving them in a dormant state. Thanks to them, the mercenaries and volunteers have managed to dispatch them with ease, and retrieve any remaining casualties. This is my fault. If I didn't fall for that illusion... How is Elisa doing now? Her condition is critical, and she hasn't regained consciousness yet. It's been 6 hours since we extracted you from the ruins. The doctors on staff says she overexerted herself. The amount of magical extension she had expended would have killed any normal person. She remains among the living, thankfully. Oh, thank God. I'll apologize to her once I get out of here. When do you think they'll let me out? Well, that's the problem. What do you mean by that? Alaric has arranged for you to be tried in court to determine your fate. Court? Yes, a public trial. Representatives from each district will be there along with key witnesses. I suppose that's inevitable, huh? Oh, god damn. Hey, for what it's worth, I believe you to have not harmed her intentionally. I'm sure Master Alaric thought the same too. But as the guildmaster and acting leader of this city, it's his duty to listen to what the people have to say. We will do our best to vouch for you during the trial, but more than that, I cannot promise. Yeah. Your conversation was interrupted by the sound of the heavy door at the end of the hall swinging open. Peering around the edges of the bars, an eagle clad in a full suit of armor emerged from the dark hall. Max and the suspect. It is time. Let us proceed to court. The guard opened the cell door, daftly attaching manacles to your hands before escorting you both out. Nah, fuck it, we're just gonna do all of them tonight. I don't care. We're just gonna do all of them tonight. I don't care. From the dark dungeon through an unfamiliar reception area back to the familiar path through the guild and towards the office elevators. With a lot of you compacted into the well-lit elevator, you caught the glint of a name tag on his chest, an oddity since you'd never seen anyone else wear one. You're Jesse, right? Jesse Pinkman, yes. Where are you taking us? I thought I was going to be taken to court. The Guildmaster's office will be acting as your courtroom today. With the city's destruction, there's no appropriate space to hold the trial, given our fair city's population has fallen to the tens. Oh, I've been assigned your escort and bailiff of the court. He puffed out his chest, flashing the badge more prominently now. Hence the name attached to the badge. If you need something, you shall address me. I see. I never expected all of this to happen. I'm sorry for everything. Save it for the jury. They will decide if you are worthy of forgiveness. Well, we're fucked. Entering Alaric's office, you found most of the room transformed into what looked like a makeshift courtroom. The rows of seats on both sides were fully occupied by townspeople. Some you recognized, others you didn't. Max lagged behind as the eagle left you in the middle of the room. You could see other familiar faces seating among the jury. They all shot you a concerned look, which you responded with a reassuring smile, easing some of the worries on their faces. It just made sense to you to remain calm despite the predicament you were in. Oh, hi, welcome. Ahead of you stood Alaric himself, whom you assumed will be presiding over your case. Court is now in session. Members of the public, please remain seated and maintain decorum throughout the trial. Thank you. A hawk and a fox stood up on opposite sides as they approached the podium. Your Honor, Charles McGill, Populi Presente. Your Honor, Charles Goodbon, representing Mr. Dave of the Gallanteer Guild. Court now acknowledge Mr. McGill and Mr. Goodmont as valid representatives. Please proceed with your opening statement. The fox shot you a look of acknowledgement before retreating to his side of the defense panel. The hawk remained, casting a glance at you, then turned to address the jury on both sides. Your Honor, and the good people of Crystal Coast, today we witness Dave, the defendant, brought upon this court as he was solely responsible for the fall of the Guardian Crystal. as well as other tragedies that befell Crystal Coast this day. At approximately 4:32 this afternoon, Mr. Dave was found unconscious next to Lady Spring within her innermost chamber. Her Excellency was found unconscious with bruises on her back, clearly caused by a blunt object. Given the close proximity she was found with the defendant, such injuries could only be the result of a struggle against Dave, the defendant. But that's not true. I just took my edge. Silence! You are not permitted to speak, Dave. Continue, Mr. McGill. Hang on, I'm gonna hydrate real quick. Well, we're gonna fucking die. Think about it. They're not going to convict Elisa. They're gonna go out of their way to not convict Elisa. Which means the only possible subject, because Ashford wasn't there, the only... Oh, shit! The other microphone died. Hang on. I just realized that. I'm so sorry. I just realized that. Thank you, Your Honor. As I was saying, ladies and gentlemen of the public, you may hear from the defense that Mr. Dave did not commit any crime, seeing that Lady Spring is still alive. And while it is nothing short of a miracle that Her Excellency also survived the initial crash, she was also reported to still be in critical condition at this very moment. Yeah, no. Like I said, Lady Spring, they're not going to do shit to her. And Ashford wasn't there. There's only one other person that it could have been. Dave. So I understand where they're coming from. They have to blame someone. And they're not going to blame Elisa. They're going to blame Dave. It's fucked up, but they have to blame someone. What if the injuries became too much for her? And what of the many victims that were claimed by the Guardian Crystal's collapse? What has transpired today was a tragedy and an unfair travesty befalling the very city many of us were born and grew up in. All set in motion by the actions of Mr. Dave here. And so it is my duty as popularly presente to make sure justice is served in this court tonight. At the conclusion of this case, after you have seen all the evidence, we are confident that you will swiftly return with a guilty verdict, punishable either by banishment or death, for such travesty committed against our beloved city and its protector. The crowd around you began to clamor. Some mocked and cursed at you incessantly, while others shot you looks of apprehension and pity. Order! Order in the court! The clamor died down after Alaric hit the gavel a few times. Thank you, Mr. McGill. Mr. McGoodman, you may begin your opening statement. The fox quickly took Hawk's spot as he retreated to the prosecution's panel, briefly adjusting his tie before turning to address the jury. Your Honor, and ladies and gentlemen of the public, today's been a long day for all of us, hasn't it? Don't get me wrong, much like any of you, my heart goes out to all the victims of this tragic attack upon our city. Let me ask you this, ladies and gentlemen of the public. Is it an everyday occurrence that we get hit by a spontaneous invasion from the King's Legion? No, right? Therefore, what the prosecution has presented to you about my client's crime being intentional and premeditated, let's set that aside for now. Because given the chaos that unfolded, the fact that my client being caught within a simply awful and horrendously unfortunate chain of events is not out of the question. I mean, look at him. The fox turns his attention at you, gesturing towards different spots on your body. Could this young, demure, and docile... Demure. He's very demure, very mindful. Could this young, demure, and docile boy, who barely joined the guild not long ago, truly be the perpetrator capable of masterminding all the tragedies that befell our city? Look at our lawyer, we're going to jail. Is this guy for real? What's more, if I may remind you, all that according to the Polarian common law, my client is presumed innocent until proven guilty. During this trial, you will find evidence corroborating that Mr. Dave and Her Excellency are actually on good terms. He was merely checking in on her well-being amid the chaos. which, unbeknownst to them both, a trap was already sprung, leading to the unfortunate outcome we all have bear witness to. This is fucking hilarious. Therefore, I am confident that you will find my client not guilty. Thank you, that is all. The murmur around you lingered on for a while before dying out, as Shaw returned to his previous spot with a confident smile on his face. Where did they even get this guy from? Very well. The prosecution may call as first witness. Yes, Your Honor. The people call the last person seen with the defendant. You look aside as Max approached the witness stand, accompanied by a rather bulky ram who seemed to be the clerk. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you shall give before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I don't know how to pronounce that. I do. Please state your name in full to the court. Maxwell Silverbane. All right, you may be seated. Yeah, we're gonna fucking die. Sir, may I refer to you as Maxwell? You may. Thank you, Sir Maxwell. Is it true that it was you who escorted the defendant to Lady Spring's location? Yes. And could you tell the court the reason for that? Dave is part of our team, and we were carrying out Master Alaric's orders, which was to ensure Lady Spring's safety. Then why weren't you with him in the end? There was an emergency on our way to Vittram Park. We nearly lost one of our strong points. I had to bolster our ranks to prevent another enemy breakthrough. I was confident that Dave could handle the task on his own. Sir, just for the record, did you see Mr. Dave going into the inner sanctum? Yes. Was he followed or accompanied by anyone? No, it was just him at that point. And do you believe this Ashford to be a real person? Yes, he's one of Cody's assistants at the Honeysuckle. The hawk then stepped back to his panel before returning with the sword, brandishing it to the whole court. Your sword. This sword was found close to Mr. Dave when he was first discovered at the scene. Do you recognize it, Sir Maxwell? I do. It's the sword Lady Spring gave to Dave. Your Honor, I would like to have this sword marked as People's Exhibit number 1, and ask that they be admitted into evidence. Does the defense have any objection? No, Your Honor. Very well. The sword will... Very well. The sword will be admitted as People's Exhibit number 1. Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Sir Maxwell, would you say that Mr. Dave was adept at using the sword? I wouldn't say adept. He's still in training. Then were you aware of any reason as to why Lady Spring would have given the sword to Mr. Dave? Given the fact that he was still in training, what could possibly be so important about this new recruit of the Gallanteer? Max looked toward Alaric, who for a brief moment of hesitation replied with a nod. It's because Dave is the prophesized hero. Needless to say, what Max said shook the jury to its core. Many of them began hollering and pointing fingers at him, calling him names that he was telling lies. Order! Order in the court! You may continue. Thank you, Master Alaric. What I said were not lies. Dave is indeed from another world, summoned here by none other than the evil king himself. It was thanks to Lady Spring who intercepted the ritual that Dave would end up by her side. Even I questioned her decisions at first, but in the end, it was ultimately her who deemed Dave the hero of our land. You broke a cold sweat as an unusual silence loomed over the courtroom. All eyes were on you, and you felt that like the stares were lasting forever. I guess Dave's God now. Eventually, it was a guildmaster who decided to speak up again. Any further questions from the people, Mr. MacGill? Yes, Your Honor, the people rest their case. Does the defense have any questions? You glanced aside to the fox, who was much too in shock to articulate an answer. So too was the hawk, who still seemed shaken as he retreated to his panel. Mr. Goodman? No, not at this point in time, Your Honor! Very well, the current witness may be dismissed. Is the defense ready with its case? Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls the close friends of the defendant to the stand. The fox had barely regained his composure as the next witness was called. Ray promptly approached the stand, stopping short by the clerk. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you shall give before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Sir, I still don't know how to pronounce that. I do. Please state your name in full to the court. Raymond Azariel Ignis. You may be seated. Sir Raymond, the court understands that you're quite well acquainted with the defendant. Well, yeah, you can say that again. We might have met for a short while, but it felt like we've known each other for a long time. Right, and have you noticed anything about him that was either weird or out of place? Nope, none that I can think of. Look, man, with all due respect, I know what this is about. If you're trying to dig into his past to justify whatever it is you're planning with him, I'm afraid you ain't gonna have that. But I can say this about him. What I've seen is a good kid, maybe a bit awkward at times, but he's eager to learn and eager to help. Reminds me a lot of Tristan, my little brother, honestly. So yeah, nothing weird or strange about him at all, despite being from another world. I see. Now, can you tell the members of the public your personal experience with Dave? Sure. Well, to be honest, before all this happened, I was mostly minding my own business, only seeing him occasionally. Then the first attack with the slime beast thing happened, and afterwards Max told us to meet up, since Lady Spring had given us a task to keep an eye on Dave. That was when we really started to stick together again. Which, if you ask me, I wouldn't even be here any longer if not for him. Sir, you okay? No, not in that sense. I just mean I would have been one of the refugees on their way off coast with my brother, which I'm sure many of you folks have thought of leaving the city for good given the recent events. But long story short, in the short time spent with Dave, he really reminded me of how fun it was to work as a team. He might be new, but he's contributed a lot to us, and I think that's worth considering, you know? I see. And lastly, Sir Raymond, have you any remarks on this Ashford character that Dave believed to be responsible for all of this? The Snow Leopard. I only know that he worked for Cody's Tavern for a while now, ever since Cody started looking for a replacement since his other assistant left. I do run into him a bunch whenever I come by to pick up food for Alex, but we never really talked, you know? Can't testify on whether or not Ashford actually did all of that. And if it's true, then those are unforgivable crimes against Crystal Coast and Lady Spring. That's all I gotta say on the matter. Right. Thank you, Sir Raymond. I have no further questions, Your Honor. Any questions from the prosecution? No, Your Honor. Very well. The witness is excused. Cody promptly approached the stand, stopping short by the clerk. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you shall give before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yeah, I do. Please state your name in full to the court. Kodiak Dimitri Middendorfy. You may be seated. Sir Kodiak. Oh, just Cody is fine. Right, Sir Cody. The court understands that you are the owner and head chef of the Honeysuckle, correct? Yes, I am. And now you are currently operating as a mercenary in the same team as the defendant. Yes, sir. May I know why the sudden change of profession? No, sir. I think you got it all wrong. I'm still a chef. And I'll be honest here, I was kind of forced into this position by my teammate. Quite happy in the kitchen just making food for our customers, and Max came by and asked me to regroup with my former teammates. First, I reluctantly joined, and that's where Dave also accompanied us, though I did end up enjoying our time together in the end. And what exactly brought about that change of heart, Sir Cody? Honestly, Dave himself. I see. Sir Cody, could you please share your personal experience with Dave to members of the public? Well, like I said, I was mostly busy with managing my tavern, trying to find someone to fill my last employee spot. Eventually, I did find Tensai, and that's when I was able to spend more time with the team and Dave. I'm not sure how to put it, but adventuring with him sure reminds me of something. Reminds me of the fun I used to have with the team back then. Not only was it caring, but he was also compassionate about what he did. Seeing his journey to become a hero made me also want to do my best as well. It's quite inspiring to say the least. I see. Thank you for sharing your anecdote, Sir Cody. Lastly, have you any remarks on this Ashford character that Dave believes to be responsible for all of this? Ash, he was one of my assistants at the tavern. Please remain quiet, members of the public. Thank you, Alaric. Well, Ash was perhaps my longest running employee, just second to Jen, who stopped showing up to work a while ago. Now, I just assumed he had quit, so then I began to rely on Ash to keep the whole business going. Ash was the most diligent and disciplined worker I've ever had the pleasure to work with. But even with his help, work just kept piling up. That's why I had to hire Tensai eventually. Still, Ash had been such a great help all these years, never complaining nor taking advantage of me. When he went missing this morning, as Tensai told me when we got back, I was worried for how much danger he might be in. I never thought things would turn out this way. A heavy silence descended upon the courtroom. Nobody uttered a word, only eyeing the bear attentively. Cody looked rather downcast, as if mourning for this person he would have otherwise considered a dear friend. Sir Cody. Sorry, I guess I got ahead of myself again. But yes, Ashford is very much a real person, someone I'll trust with my life. Which, if what Dave said is true, would also be the biggest mistake of my life. That's all I have to say. Very well. Thank you, Sir Cody. I have no further questions, Your Honor. Any questions from the prosecution? No, Your Honor. All right, the witness is excused. Ew. Toby promptly approached the stand, stopping short by the clerk. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony I shall give before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Please state your name in full to the court. Tobias Oris Silva. You may be seated. Sir Tobias, how are you this evening? I'm doing just fine, thank you. Sir, what can you say about our defendant? It is to our understanding that you met and spoke with him quite regularly. Well, yeah, that is true. Could you tell us anything about Mr. Dave? Dave, huh? To be perfectly frank with you, I always had a hunch that he was an outlander. But someone from another world, that's pretty crazy, isn't it? Crazy? I was crazy once. Still, I never exactly spent a lot of time with him at first, since I was under a lot of assignments from Sir Alaric. Now, I will admit that I did not like him at first. He was clumsy, jumpy, and spent way too much time with my scouting partner, Max. Which was more driven by my personal feelings. Things did change, however. Reality hits like a carriage at full speed. Crazy? I was crazy once. They locked me in a rubber room with rats. Rats made me crazy. Crazy? I was crazy once. Locked me in a rubber room. The rubber room had rats. I'm gonna stop. All the meme references. And it was actually Dave that helped me back up. Funny, if it weren't for his kind words, I probably wouldn't even be here right now. Mr. Tobias, are you alright? I'm okay now. But yeah, for that I do owe him one. Heck, maybe if he came to me first, I'd have fallen for him. Ah! Please remain quiet, members of the public. But please refrain from making such personal remarks, Tobias. Understood, I apologize, I know this ain't about me. But yes, I do mean what I said sincerely. I know what happened today heavily implicates him. But I say this as someone who used to want this guy out of the city. Give him a chance, people. I still believe it was all a big misunderstanding. He really said he would. Damn. That is all. I see. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, Sir Tobias. Lastly, have you any remarks on this Ashford character that Dave claimed to be responsible for all of this? Oh, that guy? Yeah, I've seen him around. Snow leopard about my height, always dressed pretty formal, works at Cody's Tavern. Yeah, he does exist as far as I'm concerned. I always thought of him as polite and professional. He never complained a single time when I changed my orders. And that's rare, I can tell you that much. That's why it's so hard for me to think of Ash as the actual culprit. But from what Cody's new assistant said, the way Ash disappeared from the kitchen was kind of suspicious. And he's still yet to return, so we can't rule out that possibility. And if nothing else, I trust Dave on this one. That's all. I see. Thank you, Sir Tobias. He said he'd bang Dave. I have no further questions, Your Honor. Any questions from the prosecution? No, Your Honor. Very well. The witness is excused. Judge, I will call the defendant. Granted. Calling defendant Dave to the stand. You felt the bailiff nudging you away from your seat as you were escorted to the witness stand, stopping short by the familiar sheep. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you shall give before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Truth. I do. Please state your name in full to the court. Dave. Just Dave. You may be seated. Hey, yo, what the hell just happened? Sir Dave, if I may, we'd like to ask for your personal account of the evenings occurred on today's afternoon at 4:32. Okay. You were told the events taking place at Vittram Park. While already somewhat hazy to you, you made sure to make mention of everything with the utmost accuracy, especially Ashford's trickeries that led to your blunder. So in short, Mr. Dave, you were ambushed by the snow leopard named Ashford, correct? Yes, it was him. Were there any other monsters present other than the man? No, the park was empty, but Ashford could summon a few nether pieces to support him. I see. And you also say that he has the power to conjure up illusions. Yes, he did it many times, with the last one being near Lady Spring. And what about the sword? Do you recognize it? The fox gestured to the jeweled sword in the evidence exhibition. Yes, it's mine. Lady Spring gave it to me as a gift. All in all, you would characterize what you did to Lady Spring as accidental, correct? Yes, I would never harm her. I see. Thank you, Dave. Your Honor, I have no further questions and no other witnesses. Any objections from the prosecution? No, Your Honor. Very well, the witness is excused. Does the defense rest? Yes, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen of the public, I am now going to read to you the law that you must follow in deciding this case. To prove the crime charged against the defendant, the prosecution must prove these two things to you. First, that the defendant indirectly or directly caused the fall of the guardian crystal. And second, that the defendant duly or unduly harmed Lady Spring. If each of you believe that the prosecution had proved both of these things beyond a reasonable doubt, then you should find the defendant guilty. But if you believe the prosecution did not prove any of one of these things beyond a reasonable doubt, then you must find the defendant not guilty. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt does not mean beyond all possible doubt. It means that you must consider all the evidence and that you are absolutely sure that the charge remains true. Are you ready with your final arguments, prosecution and defense? Yes, Your Honor. Proceed. Your Honor, and ladies and gentlemen of the public, the judge has told you that we must prove two things. That first, the defendant directly or indirectly caused the fall of the guardian crystal. Based on the witness testimony, it is safe to conclude that Mr. Dave, the defendant, did indeed enter the inner sanctum of Vitram Park on his own at 4:32 this afternoon. This satisfies the first point. Secondly, that the defendant has duly or unduly harmed Lady Spring. Well, I submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, to the public, that the defendant was found unconscious next to Lady Spring with the sword in his possession. Therefore, all we have left to do is prove that the defendant had disrupted Lady Spring's magic and brought harm to us all, which, based on all the evidence and testimony we have so far, all pointed towards Mr. Dave being the culprit. Now let us suppose that there is even a scintilla of discrepancy in what's otherwise a watertight case, that is, this Ashford person actually existed. Does this really change or absolve the fact that Mr. Dave is related to the Guardian Crystal's collapse, furthering the destruction of our city? No, of course not. Ladies and gentlemen of the public, that right there is a blatant attempt of displacement of accountability from the defendant, and that shall not stand in this court of law. Therefore, according to the instruction Judge Alaric duly provided, these are the things we have to prove, and we have proven each and every point beyond a shadow of a doubt. And you, ladies and gentlemen of the public, must find the defendant, Mr. Dave, guilty. The hawk promptly returned to his casual perch, leaving you quite shaken after that scathing conclusion. You felt the fox slightly tapping on your back as he fearlessly took the hawk's previous spot. Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the public, the prosecution presented a strong case, I'll give them that. But it is far from watertight, because you see, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Dave, my client, was extremely unlucky to have gotten himself into a situation like this. The evidence on site was stacked unfairly against him, and the only person capable of clearing up all the doubts, Lady Spring, Her Excellency, is not available at this point in time. If Dave truly was a cold and calculated killer, wouldn't he have planned an escape route so as not to be caught by our first responders? And as you have seen from the witnesses, none of them claimed Dave as someone capable of such heinous crime. I mean, to reiterate the point from my opening statement, does he, Fox gestured at your face and body again for emphasis, look like the type to assault someone senselessly? After all, he does not look, act, nor sound to be a mastermind nor perpetrator here. Based on what his friend said, he was barely in training not that long ago. Ladies and gentlemen of the public, you have also heard from Sir Max that he was picked by Lady Spring herself to be the next hero. And there was one thing about what he said that really stood out to me. We may disagree or disapprove of her decision, but at the end of the day, it is still her decision to make. And I believe as children of this realm, it is still our duty to obey that. I understand, maybe Dave is not the hero we wanted, but if Lady Spring wills it, then maybe he's the hero that we need. Now, as far as for the matter of Ashford, this phantom character that the prosecution painted him to be, really, does it not strike you all as odd that a person the defendant alleges to have existed, whom several witnesses have attested to witnessing, just so happens to be the collective delusions of the people? Talk about a preconceived notion, that one. Therefore, in my humble analysis, the prosecution has failed to present any real evidence to disprove that Mr. Dave was a scapegoat to someone else's conspiracy. That means there is room for reasonable doubt, and thus you must find the defendant not guilty. The courtroom was rendered silent as the fox promptly retreated to his panel. Now he felt even more unsure about your fate. Members of the public, you have heard the closing arguments from both sides. You may begin your deliberation process. It was now time for the jury to discuss your fate. It took quite some time, and from what you could surmise, more of them seemed to sympathize with your situation than you realized. You couldn't make out exactly what was being said amidst the murmurs, but it felt to you that the jurors were equally divided. At some point, one of them seemed to suggest something that gained everyone else's agreement. You felt your stomach twisting into a knot, so one of them began writing into a parchment form. Will the people's foreperson please stand? Have members of the public reached a unanimous verdict? Yes, Your Honor. The clerk went over to the gallery and took the verdict form from the foreperson, handing it over to Alaric. The older tiger only shook his head after skimming through the form before giving it back to the clerk. The clerk promptly returned to his desk before reading the form out loud. The members of the public find the defendant... Oh, this is tense! Guilty. I fucking called it. I fucking called it! Hang on, I'm gonna check something. We're just gonna... Well, isn't this a pleasant surprise? It appears fate has indeed brought us together once more. Oh, Grigori, hey! A wave of relief washed over you as you placed a face to the shadowy bulk seated upon the winter seat. You know them, Snowy. The shadow leaning intently upon the sandy lounge chair spoke up. His voice sounded like he could have been a senior at your college. Yes, this young man from the dreamscape is one of my owns. Elise's protege. A good kid, that one. Still a long way to go before he can claim to be a hero, however. Is that so? And what would this hero's name happen to be? I'm Dave. Well met, Dave. I take it that Lady Spring has invited you to our humble get-together? A third voice spoke up to answer in your stead. A wispy voice laden with faux haughtiness. It appears that she is beyond the reach of this realm. However, seems that she has sent her little hero here in her stead. The boy, you say? Yes, can you not perceive her mage signature emanating from him as we speak? Tell me, child, what is your connection to Elisa? Well, Elisa, Lady Spring, is my caretaker. She saved me when the king brought me to this world. Vows against this namby-pamby plot from the start, I tell you! What was she thinking, sitting with her haunches pressed against the sea and mountains, waiting for the king's forces to crush them? Were they under my guidance? We would have stricken the king upon his own throne. Sinus, the one we've lost surveillance of recently. First disguising himself as a friend, to disguising friend as foe. One must always keep their wits about themselves against such court jesters. Easier said than done, I'm afraid, but I won't let it happen a second time. If you don't mind me butting in, we've had our disagreements, but she brings much kindness to our decisions. Her absence would be felt. Your ties to this realm are weakening. Soon you will return to the physical realm. Yeah, we are already acquainted, Dave. If you'd prefer, you may call me Greg. Papa Greg, that is what the children of Svabodia call me. Despite the oppressive nature of the void, the older bear's voice rumbled with joviality. We shall continue to watch over your evolution, Dave. Hope that you will prove worthy of the title endowed upon you. When you finally opened your eyes, it's quickly evident that you were in an old prison cell. Do we just want to keep it as max, or do we want to actually do all of them? Because this entire update is all basically just the same thing. So do we just want to keep it as max? Yeah. Just behind the iron bars, you spotted Cody sitting at a small table at the back of the hall. Noticing your movements, Cody arose from his seat, quickly moving closer to the bars. Dave, you're awake. Are you alright? Did they do anything strange to you? Do you need any medicine? I can make you some. Are you hungry? Just hang in there. Tense, I will be back with our dinner in a bit. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Slow down, Cody. You're going at the speed of light just now. I'm fine. I don't feel anything strange. Thanks for worrying for me. Cody took a deep breath, trying to calm himself after seeing you stand up and walking over to him. Sorry, I was so worried about you. Excuse me. You have to give him some space, sir. Though, given his accommodations, he has all the space he needs. Tensai came down from the hall carrying a tray filled with food. He slid you a smaller tray through the bars of the cell. On it was a complete meal set of salad, rice topped with a fried egg, a bowl of soup, and a side of stir-fried vegetables. I set aside the dishes you asked me for earlier. Hope this whole ordeal hasn't made you lose your appetite. Wait, you set aside ingredients, Tensai? Only enough to make dinner for ourselves, sir. Sir Alaric has already put in a request for supplies from Hanan once the ships return from their delivery, so I'm sure he won't mind if we treat ourselves this one time. If you're sure it's okay, thanks, Tensai. Thanks, Cody. Enjoying your meal will be thanks enough. Now, eat up before it gets cold. You waited until Tensai and Cody had their food in front of them before you started digging in. Brought you warm comfort, getting to eat with them again despite all that had happened, though it still left a pit in your stomach thinking of Ashford's absence. What's the condition out there, Tensai? I've heard from the Guild Scouts and the Guardian Crystal destroyed half of our city. Thankfully, it appears that there were no major casualties associated with the affected areas. There are still missing people's reports coming in to the front desk. The merchant ships have departed, taking refugees to Hanan, and there's talks of ships heading to Hiberia. The Autumn's domain? Isn't it very far away across the ocean? From the maps I've seen, yes, but it's for that reason it's an appealing prospect. The king's influence hasn't been able to make progress that far. I guess it's only natural for people to be desperate to find a peace of mind. Speaking of, Dave, you stopped mid-swallow, turning your head to show you were paying attention. For my own peace of mind, what happened back there when you were inside Elisa's sanctuary? You tried to answer with your mouth full, but Cody stopped you and encouraged you to finish up first. The two of you talked about what to do with the current supply of food before the new one arrived while waiting for you to finish. Once you finished your meal, you launched into your retelling of the events. The confrontation with Ashford, his heel turn reveal, his escape, and his final deception. I think I need a minute. Cody stepped out of view and into the hall. Heard a series of loud crunching and crackling sounds that shook the prison until he returned, as calm as usual. Everything okay, Cody? Yes, I'm alright, I can't believe I was fooled like this. I'm gonna stop it for the ad, want to break from the ads. We're always guilty. We are always guilty. And we're back. Don't be too hard on yourself, sir. It appears that no one predicted this was a possibility. Not even Lady Spring herself. That may be so, still, to operate right under my nose for years. I was even arranging to have him take over the honeysuckle once I got back into mercenary work full-time. Guess it was pointless in the end. That's not true, Cody. Yes, he's deceived everyone, but without his help, your business wouldn't have lasted this long, right? For all the bad he's done to everyone, he helped you bring a lot of hope to everyone as well. You saw how much it mattered to everyone at the cafe to have somewhere to rest and eat. Maybe I'm just being optimistic, but despite everything, that's something he couldn't take from you. Seems like even I have a tap. No, nothing, just you're right. There's still things we can do. It's a bitter bat to swallow, but it's a lesson learned. That's the spirit, Cody, and you can count on me to back you up. Thank you, Dave. I'll be counting on you for a while still. Don't forget about me, too. We won't, Tensai. Actually, do you know when they plan on releasing me? It appears that is yet to be determined. Say what? Master Alaric had a missive sent to the tavern that a trial would be held for your involvement with the Crystal's fall. Rumors going around say that District Representative strong-armed Alaric into compliance. They'll be making up the jury and have selected the witnesses to judge your character. We've also been selected among the witnesses, so you can bet we'll be defending you. Indeed. Indeed, you're a good person, Dave. You don't deserve to have the blame pinned on you. We're a team after all. I believe in you. Like you've believed in me this whole time. Thanks, Cody. Suspect Dave and visitors, it is time. Cody and Tensai lagged behind as the eagle left you in the middle of the room. I do. Kodiak Dimitri Middendorfy. Sir, Kodiak? Oh, you can just call me Cody. Right, Sir Cody, is it true that it was you who escorted Mr. Dave here to Lady Spring's location? Yes, it was me. And would you tell the court why you had done so? Well, Sir Alaric, who told us to get to the park and check up on Lady Spring's well-being, and so that's what we did. Why then did you leave Dave to be in the end? I'm sorry. Maybe I underestimated the situation. Near the park, we ran into a camp full of injured people, men, women, and children. They needed immediate attention, so I stayed to help. Dave was only supposed to find Lady Spring. We made sure the way leading to the park was clear. I didn't know it would end up like this. Sir, that's alright. That's where we're here tonight to get to the bottom of this. So then, Sir Cody, does this mean you saw Mr. Dave heading inside the inner sanctum? Yes, sir. Was he followed or accompanied by anyone else at all? No, sir, I don't think there was anyone else around. And you believe this Ashford to be a real person? Why, yes, Ash was my assistant at the honeysuckle for the longest time. Hawk then stepped back to his panel before turning with the sword, brandishing it to the whole court. This sword was found close to Mr. Dave when he was first discovered at the scene. Do you recognize it, Sir Cody? I think so. It's the sword Lady Spring gave Dave the other day. Now, Sir Cody, would you say that Mr. Dave is adept at using the sword? I suppose if he could wield a knife, then a sword would be no problem for him, right? Pardon, a knife, sir? Yes, I mean a kitchen knife. He's been helping me in the kitchen after all. Now, I did give him regular exercise and teach him hand-to-hand combat. His training is progressing fine, if I do say so myself. I see. So you're saying that he had worked as your sous chef that had some experience in boxing? Not exactly. He's more like my assistant, and what I taught him is more useful than boxing. Yes, you're right, of course. But the point still stands that he is in training, Sir Cody. Yes, he is. Then were you aware of any reason as to why Lady Spring gave him the sword? Because from what you described, Mr. Dave is more akin to a cook in training with some exposure to close-quarter combat. That begs the question, what exactly is so special about Mr. Dave to warrant this much blessing from Her Excellency? The bear looked to Alaric, unsure of what to do or say in the moment. After a brief moment of hesitation, the older tiger only replied with a curt yet firm nod. Cody then gave you a quick look before turning to the hawk. Well, it's because Dave is a hero in our prophecy. Thank you, Alaric. Listen, everyone, I know it sounds like nonsense because at first I didn't believe it either. But it's true, Dave is from another world. I still don't understand all the details, but Dave was dragged here against his will. It was Lady Spring who happened to help him, pulling him into safety at her place. At that point, it makes sense if she thinks he's the next hero. I mean, it is her decision after all, right? I do. Maxwell Silverbane. Sir Maxwell, you are the leader of the team that the defendant currently operates under, correct? Correct. 4th Infantry Division. And has the defendant ever exhibited any unusual behavior under your watch? No, never, sir. I see. Could you please tell the members of the public your personal experiences with Mr. Dave? Of course. Well, as far as I'm concerned, he's a good trainee. He might have stumbled here and there, but his growth has been quite faster than the others I've coached. Despite everything, I'd say he's a kind and caring guy. I'd even say he's slowly becoming the heart of the team. Because without him showing up, we might not even be a team any longer. The fourth division's dissolution was frankly long overdue, all because of what's happened in the past. Which it might have divided us, but thanks to him, we've managed to reconcile. Though his actions today against Lady Spring might have been questionable, I'm sure it was all a misunderstanding because his heart was in the right place. Maybe even she would vouch for him. I see. And lastly, have you any remarks on this Ashford character that Mr. Dave alleged to be responsible for all of this? Ashford, he's a snow leopard, Cody's assistant. I've seen him around a lot whenever I grabbed a bite at the honeysuckle. Everyone likes him for his professional attitude and mannerism. That's why he's been working for Cody for a long time, from when he still had his other assistant around. And what happened to that employee, sir? I don't know. I don't know, you'll have to ask Cody that. I only know that he recently found Tensai as a replacement for that spot. That said, I am also shocked to hear all the terrible things that Ashford might have done. It is an unforgivable crime against our city and its protector. I see. Thank you, Sir Maxwell. I do. Please state your name in full to the court. Alexander Pyridus Agus. You may be seated. Sir Alexander. Just Alex, if you please. Of course, Sir Alex, you are well acquainted with the defendant, correct? Correct, though things between us are still strictly on a need-to-know basis. Right, and would you say the defendant has made any significant contributions to the city during his stay? As given his status as the next hero, surely he must have done something for our cause. It all depends on how you see it. He's undergone training and used what he's learned to help around. That includes me, our team, and people around town. And what had he done for the people, to be precise? He took a couple of requests and made effort to travel around the city, getting to know it well. That's right. During the attack nearly 7 days ago, he was the one who confronted the Nether Brute with Cody and managed to subdue it. Truly? Have you proof to substantiate this claim, Sir Alex?
If you mean the creature itself, then I'm afraid not. Our team insisted on exterminating it out of precaution. I had kept a crystalline sample from its remains, but I'm afraid even that was lost among many of my other belongings during the lab flooding at the observatory earlier today.
I see. That is indeed a shame. Now, could you please recount your personal experience with the day for the members of the public?
Well, first off, I would like to say it's perfectly understandable for the average person to perceive Dave as unhelpful both to the city and the war effort. But as a scholar and scientist myself, I was immediately drawn to the prospect of new data and points of reference from beyond this world, something that could even help push us even further on the developmental front. Of course, the first hurdle was to make sure he actually came from another world, and then when that was substantiated, the amount of information and knowledge he provided was nothing short of hitting the Sardig- Sar- Sardegnan motherlode. Thanks to him, we might have witnessed the advent of a new technological era, the era in which we can hold telecommunication hubs with our two hands, even the possibility of hosting intercontinental visual telepath broadcasts. All can be done with devices like this prototype you see in my hands at this moment.
Alex proceeded to show everyone the prototype phone. Nearly everybody, from judge to jury, all looked on in awe as the links promptly demonstrated the smartphone's features. Now, you must admit that it did look impressive, with the screen being a holographic projection from the crystal base beneath. I feel like I've seen this somewhere before. Probably that man in the black turtleneck sweater. Fucking Steve Jobs! Fucking Steve Jobs! See,
I cannot speak on Dave's character, but for this alone, he's helped us all in more ways than one might imagine.
And, Sir Alex, what are your remarks on this Ashford character that Dave believed to have been responsible for all of this?
Ah, yes, that snow leopard. He does exist, if that's what you need to know. Both my assistant Festin and I have run into him quite a few times around Cody's Tavern. We were always pleased with his professionalism, so needless to say, I was shocked to hear of his alleged heinous actions against our city and Lady Aostria. However, I cannot personally testify on it, for I was not present to witness any of it.
I see. Thank you, Sir Alex. I have no further questions, Your Honor. I do. Please state your name in full to the court. Tensai Amatsu. You may be seated. Sir Amatsu, the court understands that you're Sir Cody's most recent employee, correct? Correct, I am one of his assistants. And would you say you're well acquainted with the defendant? I'd be lying if I said I didn't. Care to tell us more about him, sir? Well, just as any other travelers, his story of the world beyond is nothing to scoff at. I believe you should hear from the man himself during his testimony later. As for myself, I'd like to remain neutral on this matter. May we know the reason as to why? Because as a fellow Outlander, let's just say it's not my place to comment on what's right or wrong about his actions, thank you. Alright then. And finally, what are your thoughts on this Ashford character that Mr. Dave believed to have been responsible for all of this? As far as my knowledge goes, Ashford's behaviors were admittedly peculiar, however I cannot testify to the alleged dubious nature of his action. That of course implies that Ashford does indeed exist, and was my coworker for the duration of my tenure as kitchen assistant. I see, thank you. Gonna make that save. I know, Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs would be so disappointed. Alright, which one next? Alex or Ray? Getting all the saves up to date. Ligma balls. We're always guilty. The voices grew louder as the senses returned to your limbs. It was still a struggle to open your eyes until one of the voices pierced your foggy mind. Hey, I'm his boyfriend. I should get an exception. Have you even told him what's going on? He must be worried and confused out of his mind. I understand, but your name is not on the list of verified visitors, Raymond. Alaric's orders, no exceptions. You gotta be kidding me. Even Festin made it onto the list, but I didn't! Step back, Raymond. If you continue to act out of line, I'll have you thrown in your own cell as well. Ray? Rushed to the iron-wrought door only to find it locked. Ray, I'm alright! You continued shouting out into the dark corridor, hoping your voice carries out to where he was. Be quiet, inmate. You're not supposed to. Dave, hold on, I'm coming in. Raymond, stop. We said. Heard both guards grunting in pain as the sounds of collision and clattering weapons and armor were heard in the distance. Damn. You saw the familiar red flash emerge from the darkness, skidding to a halt just on the other side of the iron-barred wall. Ugh, whatever, man. We don't get paid enough for this shit. Ha! Yeah, I hear you. With the city in shambles, we're not getting paid at all. Guards didn't appear to arrest Ray, Sid sounding like they've both returned to their post, complaining about the bruises, courtesy of your panting dragon friend. Dave, are you alright? Are you hurt? Hang on, let me check to make sure we're... Yep. Ray contorted his body every which way to get a look at you through the bars. I'm alright, love. What about you and Tristan? He's doing fine. They told me he's been assigned to a security detail escorting the refugees out of the city, heading for the ship bound to Hanan. Should be safer there since the king's influence hasn't spread that far inland. That's good to hear. Sounds like he really took after you, huh? Well, just wish he'd take the good and leave the bad. Anyway, what happened at the inner sanctum? Did you find Elisa there? I did, but... You told Ray everything you could remember. The ambush with Ashford, his true identity, the fight and ensuing pursuit, and what little you remembered when you found Elisa. That's a lot for anybody to handle. Glad you made it out in one piece, Dave. Yeah, me too. Hang on, I'm trying to get my right ear to pop, so I'm going to do that real quick. It's not. Yeah, me too. Still hard to believe that Ashford was a traitor. I told him so many things. Maybe that's why he took the job. Taverns are usually a hub of conversations. Ugh, now I can't trust anyone anymore. Anyone could be listening in on us and using that against us. I don't know if I should be angry or just sad about it all. You reached out to Ray's hand, resting over the horizontal bar of the cell. It's alright, Ray. I'm sure everyone's shocked to hear about it too. Especially Cody. I'll bet. He trusted him with his pride and joy when he had to join us again. He must be devastated. I hope he's not taking it too hard. Actually, how are things out there? You got reports from the other scouts that the GC's file destroyed almost half of the city. The residential and commercial districts got hit the hardest. Luckily, it sounds like that was all evacuated before we even arrived. Half the city. That's horrible. Glad everyone made it out safely. What about Elisa, though? She made it out alive, Maker's blessing. She's still recovering in the infirmary. He actually woke up before she has. You let go of a breath you hadn't realized you hadn't been holding. Relieved that you had both made it out of that ordeal intact. That's good. I'll have to apologize to her once they let me out. You wouldn't happen to know when that is, would you? Soonish, but not as a free man, unfortunately. What do you mean by that? Eric told us that he's been put under pressure to put you on trial for attacking Elisa and causing the crystal to fall in the first place. But I'm innocent! Yeah, no, I believe you, but you're also the only one that was there, Dave. Even if Ashford tricked you into disrupting Elisa's magic. The only thing everyone has been saying was how you put Lady Spring and everyone in Crystal Coast in grave danger. The district representatives will be judging your case, and everyone you've ever interacted with is going to testify. That includes me. But don't you worry, love, you have my full support. I know you wouldn't lie to me about something this important. You're a kind of caring person, Dave. That's what made me fall in love with you. Don't you fall for everyone, though? I finally got my right ear to pop. And I'm so happy about that. Hey, details. Fact is, I chose you as my one and only, I swear. I know. I'm just teasing you, Ray. You stuck your tongue out at the dragon, giving him the opportunity to playfully nip at it with his fangs. I just hope that everything would get better from here on. Me too, love. Me too. I do. Please state your name in full to the court. Raymond Azariel Ignis. Alright, you may be seated. Sir Ignis. Just call me Ray or Raymond, please. Right, Sir Raymond, is it true that it was you who escorted Mr. Dave here to Lady Spring's location? Yeah, it was me. And could you tell the court why? Well, Sir Alaric wanted to secure Vitram Bark and check up on her well-being. Then why is it you weren't with him in the end?
Well, on our way, we ran into a group of civvies that badly needed medical care. As our team's runner and spotter, I went back to bring a rescue team towards those folks. He's only supposed to check up on Lady Spring, so I thought he'd be able to handle that alone.
So he saw him heading into the inner sanctum.
Yes.
Was there anyone else beside him?
No, I'm pretty sure that was just him.
And do you believe this fuck. And do you believe this Ashford to be a real person?
Yeah, he works at Cody's Tavern as his assistant.
Hawk then stepped back to his panel before turning with the sword, brandishing it to the whole court. Your sword. This sword was found close to Mr. Dave when he was first discovered at the scene. Do you recognize it, Sir Raymond?
Yep, that's the sword Lady Spring gave to him.
Your Honor, I would like to have this sword marked as People's Exhibit Number 1 and ask that they be admitted into evidence. Does the defense have any objection? No, Your Honor. Very well, the sword will be admitted as People's Exhibit Number 1. Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Sir Raymond, would you say that Mr. Dave was adept at using the sword?
Well, I mean, he's trying. He can swing it a bit. He even managed to finish off some monsters with it.
I see. I see. Then were you aware of any reason as to why Lady Spring would have given the sword to Mr. Dave? As we understand it, Mr. Dave was recruited by the guild not long ago. What is so special about him?
Well, am I even allowed to say this?
Is there a problem, Sir Raymond? The dragon shot the guildmaster a befuddled look, to which he replied with a firm nod.
Right. The reason why is because Dave is a prophesized hero.
Gasp!
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I don't know the full details, but I ain't lying. Dave really is from another world. It was Lady Spring herself that detected some magic and managed to pull him over to where she was, if I'm not mistaken. So it was her who decided Dave to be the hero. Would any of you argue against that?
Okay, bye, Raj. I'm trying to remember the voice that I gave Finn! Because I can never remember it. I do. Please state your name in full to the court. Finn Acora Memor. You may be seated. Sir Finn, can you tell us what you do for a living? Yes, I am one of the Gallanteers Coast Guard. And what is your connection to the defendant? He is the lover of my best friend Raymond. I see, and would you say that Dave has influenced Raymond's behavior throughout the relationship? Oh, definitely. In which way, if you may specify? Mostly positive. And could you elaborate on that? Well, before Dave came around, let's just say that my friend was feeling rather lost and aimless in life. Since then, Ray's changed for the better. He spent less time on his lonesome and more with the others. I'd even go so far as saying that because of Dave, Ray now has a more positive outlook in life and in the future. I see. Can you share any personal experience with the defendant? We haven't interacted a whole lot, I don't think. Unlike Ray, who I still see every other day, Dave only sometimes visits my hut and hangout. Nothing out of the ordinary. Dave just seems like a decent person to me, if not just outright a good guy. Right, and lastly, Sir Finn, have you any remarks on this Ashford character that Dave claimed to be responsible for all of this? I've never met Ashford in person, though I did hear about him through Ray sometimes. I only knew that he was one of the waiters at the tavern, but since I rarely ever go there, I can't describe him to you. But if what's said about him is true, then it's a disgrace and travesty to our city. Sadly, I cannot really comment on the nature of his actions, that is all. Thank you, Sir Finn. I have no further questions, Your Honor. Oh, I fucking hope we see Festin. I fucking love Festin. We all love Festin. Everyone loves Festin. If you don't love Festin, then you're a liar. Festin's finally going to get his cheddar for dinner. When you opened your eyes, you were quick to realize you were in a cell, specifically a dungeon cell based on the cobblestone floor and walls and the thick iron bars in front of you. Near the bars, you see a familiar body seated on a wooden chair just opposite yourself. Alex? Alex! Psst! Alex! Took a few more strained whispers until you saw Alex's ear twitch. With a lazy turn of his head, he lifted his gaze, catching sight of you and almost immediately fumbling his way out of the chair.
Dave, you're finally awake!
Alex catches himself dusting off his coat and tried, and failed, to compose himself.
I mean, it took you long enough to wake up.
Never.
How can you even sleep at a time like this?
Well, I could ask you the same thing. Actually, what did happen and where exactly are we? I've never seen this place in the city before.
The report I received said you and Lady Aostria were brought to the infirmary once they found you at the heart of the collapse. When they cleared you as stable, the guild's guardsmen brought you down here.
Oh, that's right, the crystal fell.
Would you mind explaining everything that happened, Dave?
Yes, I'll try to remember everything. You recounted the events that took place in the park, from Ashford's betrayal to the illusion to interrupting Elisa to the ultimate collapse of the Guardian Crystal. All the while, Alex sat back in his chair listening intently.
So, Cody's former assistant was one behind it all. Who would have thought that he was the one cooking up trouble right under our noses?
What do you make out of it, Alex?
It's only a hunch, but do you remember the notes that we found while at the park?
The cryptic ones about cats? What about it?
It might be nothing, but perhaps he was the one that snuck that note onto us.
But why would he do that?
Who knows, maybe as a form of taunting us. There's not much use speculating about it now. Hey, I'm just glad that you made it out okay, Dave. You're my most precious test subject, after all.
Heh, precious, sure. Be sure to emphasize the air quotes around the word.
Hey, I meant it, alright? If we lost you, I don't know what we'd do without you.
Yeah, I know. Actually, what's happened outside since I fell unconscious?
Our scouts made a cursory survey of the damages. The GC's fall destroyed approximately 53% of Crystal Coast, 27 belonging to residential districts, 22 to commercial districts, and 4% to the industrial sector. Thankfully, it appears that the only casualties from the crystal were structural and not mortal.
That's a lot of damage. How's Elisa doing?
Lady Aostria is still alive, if unconscious yet. She's currently being watched over in the med bay as we speak.
Thank God she's safe. Wouldn't be able to forgive myself if something bad had happened to her. I'll apologize to her once you get me out of here.
I'm afraid I can't do that, Dave.
Huh? Why not?
I shouldn't even be here right now. It's only because of Alaric Enemy's special privileges that I've been able to come and see you. I'm honestly appalled they went so far as to imprison you. Alas, despite my vehement protests, none of them would heed what I had to say. All he'd say was that it's for the best.
What is he planning on doing?
I overheard some of the guild staff murmuring about a court trial with representatives from each of the city districts. I don't doubt they'll be bringing everyone you had interacted with to stand as well, including myself.
Couldn't you ask to be exempt from it with those special privileges?
No, especially not me. I was at a scene with you after all. Hey, don't think too much about it, Dave.
Huh?
I'm sure it'll go well. You don't have anything to hide. And you've got me on your side. I know my way around a good argument if it comes to that. Besides, I'm sure the others will vouch for you too.
Thanks, Alex. I hope it really is that simple.
Hey, some things can be so complicated they end up wrapping around to be painfully simple.
Right. If you say so. I just hope we get it over with soon. Your Honor, Charles McGill. Populi presente. It was so help you God. Just no clip out of there. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you shall give before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name in full to the court.
Alexander Pyridus Agus.
Alright, you may be seated. Sir Agus.
Just call me Alex, if you please.
Yes, you're right, of course. Pardon me, Sir Alex. Wow, it sounded just like Aldaris just now. Is it true it was you who escorted Mr. Dave here to Lady Spring's location?
Yes, I believe it was me.
And could you tell the court the reason for that?
What do you think? It was Alaric's order that we moved out to secure Vitrum Park as well as ensuring Lady Spring's safety. And we did exactly as was told.
Why then were you not with Mr. Dave in the end?
Because securing ground against the enemy swarm was more important. My harmonizer was more than up for the task. That's why I stayed back to make sure it did its job. Thanks to it and everyone's efforts, Vitrum Park was practically empty by the time Dave made it there.
Did you see him going into the inner sanctum on his own?
Yes.
Was he followed or accompanied by anyone else?
No, there really was no one else around.
And do you believe this Ashford to be a real person?
Of course, he is Cody's waiter and assistant at the tavern.
The hawk then stepped back to his panel before returning with a sword, brandishing it to the whole court. Your sword. This sword was found close to Mr. Dave when he was first discovered at the scene. Do you recognize it, Sir Alex?
The sword Lady Aostria duly gifted Dave. Yes, I recognize it.
Your Honor, I would like to have the sword marked as People's Exhibit Number 1 and ask that they be admitted into evidence. Does your defense have any objection? No, Your Honor. Very well. The sword will be admitted as People's Exhibit Number 1. Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Sir Alex, would you say that Mr. Dave was adept at using the sword?
He's far from a swordsman, given that he's mostly helped me inside the lab. But the sword is also enchanted by Lady Aostria herself, enabling ease of resonance with Dave. That means even an inexperienced child could wield it, provided they resonated with it first, that is.
And Sir Alex, were you aware of any reason as to why Lady Spring might have given this sword to Mr. Dave? If he is as inexperienced as you claim, and only facilitated by Her Excellency's blessing to wield the sword, what then made him so special in the first place?
Hold on, where are you going with this?
Just answer the question, Sir Alex. The people would like to know why Lady Spring gave such a dangerous weapon to such an unknown, inexperienced individual. Objection! Leading! Overruled. It is valid concern from members of the public. Please answer the question, Alex. The Lynx hesitated for a moment as he looked towards Alaric, who only replied with a small nod.
Fine, the cat's out of the bag at this point, I suppose. It is precisely because Dave is a hero in the prophecy.
The gasp. Needless to say, what Alex said shook the jury to its core. Many of them began hollering and pointing fingers at him, calling him names, and that he was telling lies. Order! Order in the court! You may continue.
Thank you. You people are free to believe what you wish, but none of what I said was fabricated. I had ran tests on Dave and confirmed his otherworldly properties, and as I understand it, the Evil King did try to summon him to his palace. Only the Maker would know the intentions behind that, but the truth of the matter is, it was thanks to Lady Aostria who successfully intercepted the summoning and brought Dave into the fold. Pray tell, then, would you still question her when it was she who has deemed him befitting the next hero of our land?
Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you shall give before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Festin does.
Please state your name in full to the court.
Festin vere.
You may be seated. You, and perhaps half the courtroom as well, watched intently as the mouse raised his stepping stool a few notches before climbing back on top, facing the witness stand. Sir Festin, is it?
Yes, it is Festin, Sir Shawl.
I have some questions for you. The mouse nodded his head slowly. The court understands that you work under Sir Alexander as his lab assistant, correct?
Yes, Festin believes so.
Do you know the defendant, Sir Festin?
The defendant is Sir Shawl, referring to Sir Dave?
Yes.
Okay. Well, Festin is proud to say that Sir Dave is actually Festin's co-worker at Master Alex's lab. And Master Alex had made mention of it, but during the observatory incident, Festin was trapped within the research chamber and the water level was rising. Had Sir Dave and Master Alex not come to rescue, Festin might have drowned there, and the whole tower would be none the wiser. For that, Festin owes his life to both Sir Dave and Master Alex. If not for them, Festin wouldn't even be here by now.
Please remain quiet, members of the public. You may proceed, Festin.
Yes, Master Alaric, sir. Huh? Well, if I may, I just wanted to say that we are all glad you're...
Wrong fucking voice! Well, if I may say, I just want to say that we're all glad you're still here with us, Sir Festin.
Festin thanks you as well, Sir Shawl.
Well, since Dave seems to know both you and Sir Alexander, how would you characterize their relationship as well?
Festin believes they are on very good terms.
Is that so?
Yes, ever since Sir Dave's arrival, Master Alex has been much happier. Sir Dave helped make Master Alex smile more. Sometimes Master Alex even talk about Sir...
Faint, very faint psst, as the mouse looked over to where Alex sat. My head is somewhere, I don't know where. The embarrassed Lynx faintly put both arms up in a diagonal cross shape, likely telling the mouse to stop talking.
Festin would like to comment on this matter no longer. In any case, Festin wishes to vouch for Sir Dave's innocence in this matter.
I see. And lastly, Sir Festin, have you any comments on this Ashford character that Dave claimed to be responsible for all of this?
Festin remembers Ashford. Festin sees him regularly whenever Festin goes to Sir Cody's tavern to pick up food for Master Alex. Festin always thought Sir Ash was very kind to Festin. Normally people make fun of Festin for being small, and the way Festin talks. But not Sir Ash.
Yes, I'm aware it's the second time I slipped up.
That is why when Festin heard of the heinous intentions Ashford had for our city, Festin could hardly believe it. Part of Festin wishes for it to not be the case, but at the same time Sir Dave also cannot be the culprit here. That is all Festin wishes to speak on the matter.
Alright, thank you, Sir Festin. I have no further questions, Your Honor. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you shall give before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. A sword that was explained to have been made specifically for resonating, which even a child could wield proficiently should it resonate with them beforehand, which suggests that it wholly qualifies as a deadly weapon of murder in Mr. Dave's hand. Poor Festin. Exactly. We're still guilty. Oh, you know Lady Spring is about to get up and haul ass over here. Alrighty. Stay safe, have a good night, and I will see you all tomorrow.